Hey guys, and welcome to the biggest video of the year for Kickstarters. This is my upcoming 2020 Kickstarters list. There's a ton of exclusives here, a ton of stuff you haven't seen, a ton of exciting news and games for the upcoming year, and I can't wait to share it with you. So, let's get started. Alright, now I'm going to get into the list here very soon, but I just wanted to quickly say thanks for watching. Really, I do appreciate it. Making this list takes a ton of time throughout the year as I track things and follow up on things and try to get more info, and a ton of emails trying to get images to make it, really high quality for you guys instead of like screen grabs and stuff like that. So if you appreciate the time it took for me to put this together and this video is at all helpful to you, be sure to give it a like. Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to see me cover most of these games throughout the year, that's what this channel is all about. Go ahead and click subscribe for that. Additionally, this is the video to comment on if you want to enter for the giveaway for Dawn of Madness by Dimension Games. That's going on currently right now as I launch this video. And so there's just a few days, and like 2 days, I'm going to pick a winner. So it'll just be a random draw. Go ahead and in the comments below, let me know. And then I'll announce the winner then, so you guys will know if you win it before the campaign ends. Okay, so covering our bases. Lots of miniature games, really cool miniatures, lots of news, future coverage, subscribe for that, like the video and comment if you want to enter for the giveaway or if you appreciate this video. And if you're feeling extra generous this time of year, as always, I do have a Patreon link below. I'm very independent. I speak my mind and I'm honest about everything I talk about. So if you want to help support that because I don't make deals with the board game companies, then link down to that below as well. Alright, starting things out, in January, there will be a 75mm resin miniatures collection series for the upcoming Limbo Eternal War models. More on that later in the video, actually a few times. All I'm going to say here is that these look amazing. So if you didn't know this about me, I love wolves. And so when I saw this chick on the wolf with her sword out and the giant shield behind her and the cape flowing and on the right, just, are you kidding? That is like the miniature for me. I am all about that miniature. These are just high quality. The sculpts that CA does is fantastic. Charles is a hugely, skilled artist in his field when it comes to sculpting these and still being, realistic in the sculpt. And so that, working with people that can make the miniatures actually fit the render. Obviously, that's really important too. Either way, this is going to be fantastic. This is leading up to a bigger Kickstarter. So again, more on that later, but there will be 10 miniatures, I believe, available in January for this line of miniatures, all 75mm, and again, they're for an upcoming Kickstarter that I'll talk about shortly. And of course, it's not just that, you have like the succubus lady with one of the coolest swords I have seen. I really dig that sword, and it's a really cool base. I love the candles in there. The texture on the wings look really cool. Just a unique kind of pose that I really like too. It's just very cool miniature there. And then of course you have demons and demon dogs and dragons and Norse Viking people. And so if you like Vikings and Norse stuff, and if you like dragons, or if you like demons, or if you like wolves and, people like that. I mean, they have something for everybody here. I'm really impressed with the range that they're going here, for this. It's definitely going to be impressive. Alright, next up, what I gotta talk about is Conan Beyond the Monolith by Monolith. That will be getting some new content and a second Kickstarter on January 6th. There's a pirate Conan, so I'll just say that right there. While he's wearing more clothes than I prefer Conan to wear, which sounds kind of weird me saying that, but it looks like it's a very cool thing. They've shown the map, and you can go like inside of the ship, which is something new, so you can kind of be on 2 different levels. The miniature quality looks really good. The sculpt design I'm really liking, and I like kind of their style of trying to make it cheaper for everybody. That's what the whole Beyond the Monolith is. Let me know if you guys want a video explaining what that is. I can by all means make a informative video for you guys on that. But either way, Conan is like one of my favorite games. Definitely like top 3. I've played every single scenario of the retail version, so I'm excited to finally get on a Kickstarter and get more content there. Looks like they're going to have faction boxes, so you can get the faction boxes and you'll get a ton of miniatures with that, and then all the game components you'd need to play with them. Next up, by Ludus Magnus Studio, is D.E.I. I'm not going to try to pronounce the rest of the name here. This is actually a relaunch from a Kickstarter. It funded like 200% or something like that, but then they went and canceled it anyway because they feel like their game is, bigger than that and they must just not be doing something right. So they're going to try again on January 21st. So again, that's already like several here in January. There's already 3 in January and I'm not even done with this month. So a lot going on in 2020. There's a lot more to come. This is going to be a beefy video here, but D.E.I, I don't know much about it. They didn't really get in contact with me like they did with their previous stuff with like Black Ops Wars or Dungeonology, but it looks very wintry. So there's that. I'm sure they got some cool looking minis in there too. Ludus Magnus Studio always tries to make some unique looking miniatures, if nothing else. After that, we have Wonderland's War by Druid City Games on January 28th. This has been a long time coming. You've seen me mention this in a few of my other Kickstarter videos. If you're new here, I do one every single month on the month. Like, this is what I've learned about Kickstarter. This is what's launching, what you can late pledge, what's coming up, all that kind of stuff. Every month I do one of those. So you've seen this if you've seen my channel before, but Wonderland's War looks like a very interesting style game. It kind of reminds me not of gameplay, but just of like theme and feel of Stuffed Fables, which was definitely a hit with my family. So I'm looking forward to looking into Wonderland's War once it launches on January 28th. We also have Grendha, Search for Lost Triumphs on January 14th. This is a new miniature game and it looks very expansive. They're promising 244 plus miniatures, 234 plus cards, tokens, and dice. There's a lot of stuff here. 244 miniatures. Now, I will say I don't know about the scale. They're probably tiny. I don't know about the quality. Probably not super great if it's 244, but it might be good enough. I don't know. So we'll have to keep an eye on that and just see what's going on. The theme, like I like the art style. That seems pretty good, but otherwise I don't know a lot about the game itself. So we'll have to look into that in a few weeks. Probably around January 14th, I assume. Alright, now there might be some others in January, but a lot of these, when it's this early, they don't actually announce it. A lot of times they don't announce a date until 2 weeks before they launch, or less. So I can only kind of go by what I know. Sometimes they'll announce it early, sometimes not. What I'll do is at the end of the video, I'll list a whole bunch of just Kickstarters I know are coming out in 2020, but no telling when or where or how. Moving on to February, Arena the Contest by Dragori Games will be getting an expansion on February 4th called Tanares Adventures. I'm not sure how you pronounce that one. It'll include a new combat role, the commanders who come with companions. As a person who loves pet classes and like anything from an ARPG like Diablo or Torchlight to really just any RPG that lets me have pets. I'm really excited about that one. It sounds like kind of like the Emperor if you got the original Arena of the Contest. Great game, by the way. The first revealed one is the Beastmaster. So you can already Google that and take a look there and see kind of how they talk about the Beastmaster and the different combat roles there. But miniature-wise, they are revamping their miniatures. They're going to do a much better job this time. In last year's delivery, it wasn't so good. It was also the first one. They were low in experience. Now they're actually going to be using the exact same production company that Awakened Realms uses. So if you like AR's miniatures, then you'll probably like these as well. Also in February, towards the end, would be SHEOL, and you've seen me cover this a little bit, and in fact, in January, I'm going to be having an unboxing, and I should be able to have an early review too, so that you can actually have a review from me while the Kickstarter is going on, so you know a little bit better about whether or not the game's right for you. What I will say is the theme is outstandingly unique. The design of the miniature is outstandingly unique. It has one of the best centerpieces of a board game I've ever seen, with this gigantic city that you actually start really small and you slowly build up. So as you upgrade it, it just gets bigger and bigger, and you have to kind of go out into the wilderness from the city and do your missions and use light to like combat these shadow things and those gigantic monsters coming out of the earth and all sorts of zaniness. I think the moon is bleeding in it. I don't know what's going on there, but it sounds like a really interesting game, and the miniatures are super unique, which I always appreciate. A well done, unique take on the miniatures, because we need more of that in this landscape instead of just a whole bunch of fantasy stuff. So really excited about that. Moving on to some that I know are in the kind of the January, February, March range, but I don't know really hard, dates or anything like that. We have Sankokushin, 5 Sacrifices. This is actually you might not know about this. It's just the miniature Kickstarter featuring some sculpts by Charles, the CA guy that did it in Limbo Eternal War. You saw some of his work earlier. You're probably seeing some now. He's going to be doing some of these along with others. There's going to be kind of a miniature line leading up to the eventual Kickstarter. So you'll hear me talk about that more in a bit, but that'll be kind of in this, first quarter of 2020. Wolfenstein, the board game by Archon Studios, is also going to be around this time too. In fact, the core game is done and will deliver 2 weeks after the Kickstarter ends. This reminds me so much of Claustrophobia 1643, which ended up being a great deal for consumers, a great deal for us, people who are just the consumers of the board game, because it was a really quick turnaround. It'll have plastic injected corridors and hard plastic push fit minis. So, my understanding is they heard a lot about the feedback of Chronicle X, and they've been working on making this, good board game because they are passionate about the IP it is. I personally like the IP it's based off too because I love video games. So I'm really looking forward to this. And the quick turnaround means that early on 2020, you're going to be seeing me covering this for sure. Additionally, we have Frosthaven. This is the Gloomhaven sequel you've been waiting for. It'll be in March. It has 100 plus new chapters, a new roster of 16 heroes. If you like Gloomhaven, this is a no-brainer. It's called Frosthaven, March. You'll want to see my coverage of it for sure because I'll be talking about it with the game details and the campaign specifics and all that jazz, just in a couple months here. Next up, I have Veil of Ruin by Project Darkwater. Now, I had never heard of them before, and they actually got in contact with me, so I've been talking with them. And turns out they're founded by a whole bunch of people that are they've done a lot of video game stuff. I'm talking Dawn of War, Warhammer Space Marine, Homeworld 2, Impossible Creatures. You remember that one? Company of Heroes, Anthem. There's been a ton of stuff they've done. I was actually really impressed with what they're coming from. So, in my opinion, based off a lot of those games, they know what fun is. So that's kind of cool. That got me interested. And then I find out they have, 20 to 40 miniatures at their campaign that, they even mentioned a 5e campaign. So they're really perfect for use in there. They have minions and bosses and quests, and there's 6 heroes, and they each have these combat decks, so you get 50 cards that you can use, so each of them are unique and stuff like that. Again, I don't know a whole lot of specifics, but from what I can see and what I can hear and how they're acting, it seems pretty interesting. This might be one to look out for. It's certainly one that made my list. Alright, so now we're into Q2. This is now, your April, May, June, and again, I'm only talking about ones that I know are in this range. So there's plenty that are probably going to be here. I'll be mentioning them below, but right now they're just quote unquote coming soon. So we're going to have to just kind of play it by ear. Right off the bat, there is a second 75mm resin miniature collection series from Limbo. I'm unsure about if this is just a reprint or new. I'm assuming there will at least be 1 or 2 new ones, if nothing else, but it might be the other range. If there's 10 in the first one, there might be 10 in this one too. I don't know, but again, expect amazing miniatures. I mean, I know I gush a lot, but these, just are so good. The armor style they have, it actually reminds me a lot of some of them are really armored up with the giant pauldrons and stuff like that. Big swords. It's very anime, but not, very kind of Warhammer high fantasy, but then also gritty and realistic. There's just a lot there. And like I said, they have these, a lot of leather armor for the Norse, with these chicks here. And, a lot of painting opportunities, a lot of unique, positions and just how they are, whether, the holding the strap that the shield's on, that's cool. That's awesome. I love that they're including stuff like that. So really excited there. If you love miniatures and you want to paint bigger miniatures, I suggest you look there because they're going to be great. In fact, if you haven't painted a big miniature, a 75mm miniature, and you're interested, I would highly suggest trying it out. Go ahead and just get one and try it out. You'd be amazed at how nice it is when everything is just that much bigger. All the features are there. There's no bad part of the miniature. It just looks so great because it's at this great scale, and you have room to do stuff like wet blending, or you can just go to town dry brushing and not worry about hitting other parts because everything's just so it's a whole different experience, and it's really a lot of fun. Alright, moving on from a second Limbo Eternal War miniature line, we have Seventh's Cross by Level 99. Now, this is actually a card game. I don't include a lot of these, but I actually like a lot of games that aren't miniatures. I know, it's crazy. I especially like card games. I love card play. I love decks. I love dealing with hands. I love interactions like combos. always fun with that. That's always where I go to on Magic, or just theming something, like creating, just deck building is awesome to me. 7th Cross looks awesome. The art looks really, really cool. It's very kind of anime. But it's like this legacy game, but it has 7 separate campaigns that are separate, but then stuff kind of carries over, kind of like a roguelike kind of thing. So there's like 7 different castles. Each one has multiple bosses. It's a campaign. You're going to be making decisions, interacting with people, gaining allies. If one of you dies, your character is just dead, and you then have to go pick another one. If there are none to pick out, instead of just being eliminated forever, you actually just lose the game. So you kind of have to watch out on how many people are dying. And I always like when it's a possibility that people are going to die, and you just have to track how many. It's what got me to actually cover Cryptic Explorer, and it's now what is having me talk about this, besides the gorgeous art and the fact that it looks like a kind of interesting, more board gamey card game, which is something I'm really interested in learning more about. So definitely I'll be looking at that around the April, May, June, Q2 2020. Now, if you haven't heard of Serious Pulp, you've probably heard of their game. The next Kickstarter is going to be 7th Citadel. So obviously that's going to be huge. I don't know how many miniatures are going to be there. It's not going to be the focus, obviously, but they might have some. But regardless, if you like adventure, if you got Tainted Grail and you like that style of kind of exploring and stuff, this paved the way for it. So 7th Citadel is just going to be that in spades. So if you like that kind of game mechanic, you might want to track Serious Pulp and really kind of look at the 7th series, is I think what I'm going to be calling it. Alright, now the farther out we go in the year, obviously the less certain we are about dates. Most of these now are just spring or autumn or Q4 or anything like that. And even then, a lot of times we're at the coming soon stage. So this is going to move rapidly, and then we're going to get to the unknown. In Q3, which is July, August, and September, we have the 3rd Limbo. That's right, in August, it's back again with a reprint of the first campaign stuff for Eternal War, as well as the new expansions. This expansion is what you've been seeing, like these miniatures, but obviously with gameplay. It's gonna have Norse, it's gonna have dragons, it's gonna have, more demons and angels, because people wanted that to be, you to be able to build an army out of that kind of stuff. So those people who are asking for like angel faction, well, there you go. It's just a lot of new stuff. Just as high quality as what I've seen before. The idea of a dragon from them sounds awesome, obviously. I've already gushed over the wolf. That's gonna be like, if whatever faction she is, whatever she is, I'm picking her, obviously, because wolves are cool. Anyway, this is going to be the big thing. Additionally, because it's a second print, I always love those in Kickstarters. You will have seen my review by then. You would have seen my unboxing by then. You know kind of what it looks like. If the game actually ended up being as good as we hope it is to match these amazing miniatures. So, definitely if you missed out on the first campaign, that's the one to look out for. And that's it for Q3. There's not a lot that's been pinned down to Q3 specifically. So moving on to Q4, which is kind of the October, November, December. So this is like a year from now. We have Sankokushin, the 5 Sacrifices by Axis Mundi. This is the one where it's an actual game. It's going to have this miniature anime board game that's story heavy and also has you doing some city building. The city building really kind of, the concept reminds me of Kingdom Death Monster. The implementation doesn't. Which is kind of cool. It means you can get that city building and then that fighting and, kind of, doing the Civ kind of portion, which I really like, but then having great, amazing cinematic miniature combat, which again, I really like. So combining those two, always up for that. Again, the art looks great. The miniatures the design is fantastic. If they can pull off these miniatures, I'm going to be like shouting on the rooftops. It's going to be awesome. So really hoping that's going to be good. It sucks it's so far away though. Alright, next up we have Shattered Chaos by Psycho Games. This is going to be in autumn, is what they said. So, somewhere in the October, November, December kind of thing. And probably earlier in Q4 2020, but still a long ways away. This actually looks kind of interesting. They have like these enemies that have these kind of algorithms they follow when it comes to, it moves and then it attacks and it does this or it does that. And so, some really good AI. Hopefully. I mean, that's always what I'm looking forward to because I love doing the whole full co-op thing. They have some great looking art and some great looking minis to back it. Their boards actually look really interesting. Like they're hex based and they're really bright and looks like hand drawn and just kind of interesting there. But then they have, just this like something about a god chaos and what the godly siblings and I don't know. The story and the setting seems really cool. It's campaign based. So looking forward to that. the locations you go, the art that they've shown look fantastic. So I'm showing some of you here, but like this castle with lightning out. It's just so mood setting to be there. And same with like that tree. I mean, I love the art. And of course the miniatures look super cool too and fairly unique. Like, like they have a goblin, sure, but how he's armored with his curved blade is interesting. Or, they have kind of the typical people with a bow and arrow, but she's like walking forward with the string while reaching back to grab one. So like walking and shooting. I love when miniatures like that can kind of tell a little bit of, a scene or a story. Like it's part of something and not just standing there looking boring. So really excited about those as well. If they come out great, it sounds like it's going to be a cool game. Okay, so that is 2020 in a nutshell, except for this laundry list of unknowns. This is what I have it listed as unknown. It's coming soon, pending 2020 release. Or just a promise of, hey, we're coming back or we're going to do this. And so this is just going to be kind of a myriad of things. There's no rhyme or reason or order to it, except it's just stuff that I've noted and been trying to track and get more information on. As we get closer, obviously I'll continue to, talk about it in my monthly Kickstarter series. First up, Storm Sunder by Lazy Squire Games will be quote-unquote soon. They've been teasing this a lot. I'm assuming Q1 just because of how much they've been showing, but the miniature design looks so good. They did great with Wild Ascent. Like they did a great campaign, especially as a new company. They have their Archon miniatures, Archon Studio miniatures, and so they're super high quality miniatures. These like kind of resin unicast kind of things, really high detail, really crazily sculpted. Storm Sunder looks like a very unique world. I see some Egyptian stuff there. The miniatures again just look very thematic and cool. Storm Sunder sounds cool. I like kind of the aesthetic of the art, the actual drawn art that they have. By the looks of it. So definitely interested in that. So in the next few months when that actually gets on Kickstarter, I'll definitely be talking about it. Speaking of definitely talking about it, we all know about I don't know if we all know. I know about the Dragon Ball Z, the miniatures game or whatever from, it'll be through Jasco from Angry Joe, from the Angry Joe show. If you know him on YouTube, he's actually a big board gamer. He did the, Street Fighter miniatures game, which should be delivering here hopefully in the first half of 2020. So I'll be unboxing my all in on that and we'll look at that because following that will be Mortal Kombat and then Dragon Ball Z. So we know that's on the horizon, but probably not 2020. Sorry to, spoil everything. It looks like Mortal Kombat's going to be next. So Mortal Kombat will be here. So there will be probably a Mortal Kombat miniatures game by Jasco. So we're looking forward to that. That looks cool. I don't know too much about it. He's shown a few things, but for the most part, he's focused on the Street Fighter thing. So if we get a Mortal Kombat one, it'll be late 2020. But that doesn't mean we don't get Dragon Ball Z. Because actually, Conan and IDW are partnering together to make Dragon Ball Z the miniatures game. It's actually going to be handled by Conan, but IDW, I believe, holds some of the rights or something. Or I don't know how they're partnering there because, obviously Jasco's able to do something with it, at least at some point, I'm assuming, because he's already shown cards for it and miniatures and whatnot. Anyway, Dragon Ball Z, the miniatures game by Conan/IDW. All we know is this picture here, so we don't know a whole lot about it, but I'm hoping towards the end of 2020 we'll see that. Knowing Conan, they do like 18 billion Kickstarters a year. I'm sure it'll be one of those 18 billion, at least I'm hoping. What excites me about that is that I'll actually be able to paint the miniatures because the Jasco version through Angry Joe will be pre-painted. That's how he's doing all his miniatures. So you can touch them up and add to it, obviously, but these will just be the normal gray plastic miniatures. Keeping on that high level of exciting games, this is probably what you guys have been waiting for, is the kind of this list, because these are a lot of the really exciting ones from the brands and names that we know. Hell, The Last Saga by Mythic Games. They just barely teased this. They like went heavy into teasing it and then just shut up about it. But I've been talking with Az and I've been, talking with Leo and we've been, it's happening. Okay. So it is coming. Don't know exactly when yet, when it's right, when it's ready for prime time, obviously, but the theme looks really cool. Like going into hell and just like the people with like amputees and stuff like that. It just looks really cool. Like this guy has like his missing hand, but then a giant, like sword on his back, or the Hawk Lady. I mean, heck yes, that looks awesome. Just really cool miniatures that I'm really looking forward to. The theme sounds good. I have no idea about the game though, so we'll have to figure out the game, I guess. We also have ISS Vanguard by Awakened Realms. That's going to be their next Kickstarter now that they're, just wrapping up the Great War at the time of recording here. We don't know a ton about it. I'm hoping that it's this like really cool sci-fi sandbox game, because that's really what I want. Unsettled sounds like it's going to be kind of like that, but this is obviously by Awakened Realms. It's going to be huge. Love the art style. And based off the art style, it's that type of sci-fi, that kind of like sleek, kind of Mass Effect kind of sci-fi. Really dig that. So looking forward to that one as well. Obviously, as we get more info, I'll let you know. Now, Dimension Games has been sitting on this for a while, and I've already painted some of the miniatures. I've shown you some of the unboxings because they have the miniatures line leading up to Celestial. I am assuming towards the end of the year we will finally see it. It sounds really cool. First of all, it has some of the most amazing miniatures I've seen. Dimension Games does such a great job with their sculpt design and kind of their art process around that. Nuwa in particular, her face of like kind of worry and shock and horror all mixed up. It's just a fantastic miniature. Super, super unique. How Byron, the story guy, explained it to me is it's kind of like a twisted version of Game of Thrones in a way. Essentially, it's like faction based or whatever, and there's a lot of political stuff there. But it's kind of like an RTS, or a real-time strategy game like Warcraft or Starcraft or something like that. So you have your commander units, and the miniature lines that they have now, you can actually use those in the game. They're the right scale. So you have these big kind of leader units, and then the minions, like the troops that you can produce or whatever, and you command them around the board and do stuff like that. How it's been explained to me sounds super awesome, super unique, really looking forward to it. Great theme, great production quality, cool sounding gameplay. Sign me up. Alright, now you guys may have heard of this one. Zombicide? Have you heard of Zombicide before? Have you ever seen a Zombicide Kickstarter before? Oh, that's right. We've had 3 in the past, 2 years. Well, let's add a 4th. Zombicide Evolution by Conan. That's going to be on the Teburu, or however you pronounce it. It's Zombicide, and it's a new Zombicide. It's called Evolution. The reason it's called that is because the Teburu is like this very fancy technology kind of thing where it has microchips in your dice that are connected to Wi-Fi so that a computer knows what you rolled. It has little spots where you can put your people, and so it knows where you've moved, and so it's running the other half of the game. It's kind of a fusion between a video game and a board game, and then also probably really, really expensive too, so that, not a lot of people can get it. I actually don't know the price. We're all curious to see what that looks like, if it's going to be affordable, because there are a lot of thematic things that can do that. When they were showing the Kickstarter, or the Zombicide version of it, I should say, they were showing how interacting with NPCs, you can actually talk to them, and you can see animation and stuff like that, because it's this kind of video game sort of experience, but with the tactile board game and rolling dice and whatnot. Definitely an interesting idea. We'll see how it goes. And the Teburu could do more than just Zombicide, right? It can do all sorts of stuff. So that's just a big initial push there from Conan, supporting the system. We also have Neomorphosis by Dragori Games. Now, not a lot is known about this. They've teased it a few times, but really it's just images. I don't know anything about the game itself, so I can't speak a lot about it. But obviously, Dragori Games has done some really great stuff in the past, and so I'll definitely be interested in learning more about Neomorphosis as we get closer and they start releasing more information. Speaking of mentioned a long time ago, Call of the Void by Archon Studios was mentioned quite some time ago, and last I heard, it's actually still a thing, so it's still coming up. I know they have their Wolfenstein game first, but maybe later in the year by Archon Studio we'll see Call of the Void. If not, I guess you'll see this on my 2021 Kickstarter video too. I'm not sure. But Call of the Void is kind of like a Cthulhu meets alien space kind of situation. Also long in the tooth is Bloodstone by Druid City Games. This has been teased again for a long time here now. It feels like almost a whole year they've been teasing this, and they delayed it a whole lot, but it is finally coming to Kickstarter soon. They said they'd be ramping up more information about it, so I expect this to be the one right after Wonderland's War. Not right after, but their next Kickstarter. And speaking of next Kickstarters, Blacklist Games will be doing Contra. So that's all I really know. They teased for a long time the the logo of it, and it eventually revealed, we're doing a Contra game. And the image that I'm showing you here is the only image I know in existence about it. So I guess we'll find out more over time. Now, Monolith is actually going to have a second Kickstarter towards the second half of 2020. And in fact, I imagine it's either in the middle or late second half of 2020. But we'll see Mythic Battles Ragnarok. This is what we've been waiting for. Mythic Battles is a fantastic game. I never did get around to getting a review video out, but I have really enjoyed it. It's a great game. And the Ragnarok just introduces all the Norse stuff, which I'm super excited about. Gotta love that. And the next one will be Egyptian, and they all work together. So you have Greek, Norse, and Egyptian, all the gods, all the titans, all the, mythical units, and all the soldiers all fighting together. Heck yes, that sounds cool. Sign me up. That's awesome. I love the card activation in the game particularly, so really looking forward to that. I have another miniature line for you guys. Black Sun Miniatures will be doing the Dark Crystal and Labyrinth miniature line. Yes, you heard me right. The Dark Crystal and Labyrinth, high quality, high production busts, and, kind of like, scenic miniatures. So if you love this style, if you love the IP, if you just love well-made miniatures, Black Sun Miniatures will be able to hook you up. It just says coming soon, so who knows when, but I'm assuming soon means actually like first half of 2020. Alright, so another exclusive. So you guys have never heard this before. I'm gonna lay it down here right now. You know how much I liked Aeon Trespass Odyssey. A fantastic game. I gave it my number 1 Kickstarter of this year in my top 10 list. Link in the description below to that if you're still with me. Kickstarter was crazy this year, and it's going to be crazy next year, as you can tell. But Into the Unknown, they're not done yet. They have Kingdoms Forlorn. Now, this is the only image I'm allowed to show you guys, so you're just going to have to sit tight with this until later on, and I'm sure I'll be showing you plenty more. In fact, I can't even describe what this is. Now, I can't even tell you what this means. This is just how they describe it, but it's a solo operative dungeon delver with tactical combat, exploration, and looting. Period. That's it. That's all I'm saying. But be on the lookout for that. Obviously, Kingdoms of Forlorn is going to be something unique. Now, you guys may have heard about a game called Ankh, Gods of Egypt by Conan, designed by Eric Lang, the third mythical Kickstarter, or the third mythical board game that he's been working up since Blood Rage and Rising Sun. The miniatures look fantastic. The art looks like it will probably be good, but they're way behind in the art, hence why it was delayed, and they're still making game changes and design decisions and stuff like that. But it is coming to Kickstarter sometime in 2020. It looks kind of interesting. If you watch, there's actually, Asmodee has a interview where he kind of plays through a little bit, and you can like separate area. It's like an area control game, like all of these, where you can like have lines of camels that split up areas and stuff like that. And it's definitely some unique mechanics. It's going to be a lot different, but you can still like recruit monsters. That's a theme that's always going and stuff like that. Looks pretty cool. I'm sure it'll be great when it's finally out. Alright, so I'm gonna wrap this up with some games that were canceled but promised to relaunch. Whether they actually do and whether it's this year, I don't know. I have seen games relaunch 4 years after the original Kickstarter. So who knows where these are going, but they're just kind of, I'm just putting a little pin in a little footnote in the back of your mind. If you're interested in this, you might want to, subscribe to their newsletter if they have one or something like that. Follow them on Facebook or whatever. Whatever you can do, that's what I tend to do with these kind of things. First one by Dark Hand Games is Beneath. This is where you have like all these dwarves and you're getting resources and it's like semi-competitive. Funny story about this. Really early on in my YouTube career, they actually contacted me because one of the people there knew my channel and wanted me to paint their miniatures for their Kickstarter. And so I said, well, I'm kind of interested. I started talking to them. And then suddenly they were like, okay, actually, never mind. We want somebody that's like a professional. Which was very much a good thing. I'm pretty honest about my abilities. I am, average after all. So it didn't necessarily hurt my feelings, but I thought it was hilarious. So they're like, we want somebody that's actually good. So, we're going to pass on having you paint our miniatures. That being said, the game seemed kind of interesting. Not super my style because it's not super combat heavy. It's a lot more about, just trying to be efficient and what is where you're moving and gathering. I'm sure it's fun. It's just not really something I get jazzed about. But either way, it didn't really fund super well, and so they're hoping to come again and really knock it out of the park second time. You guys might have heard of Champions of Nexum. I was, covered it in one of my monthly Kickstarter videos again, just briefly. That's by Board Legends. That was also canceled and will get a possible relaunch. Don't know when. Again, it was another one that, I think, if I remember correctly, actually kind of successfully funded, but then just didn't quite do enough or was really struggling, and they really want to kind of do it proper. So they're going to be changing things up and then coming back to it. Another one I covered before was Halls of Horror. This was again canceled and will have a possible relaunch sometime in 2020. This was very much a killer versus people trying to escape kind of 80s neon theme kind of thing. So it was super kind of unique. Hopefully they can just get it a little bit more professional looking and really kind of make it shine. But be on the lookout for that sometime in 2020. Then I also have Wardens by Raven Tales. Again, another one I kind of covered. This was actually, if I recall correctly, a husband and wife team that really kind of put this out here, which is really cool. They had some cool looking miniatures, a neat theme, a neat looking board, but again, just didn't quite get the buzz it needed, so they canceled it, or it was unsuccessful. I don't remember which one, and they will possibly relaunch it, maybe 2020, maybe later, but whenever they can. Now, the last one of these canceled ones is Corball, the Zero-G sport game by Burning Games. This one did not successfully fund. It just really struggled to gain traction, which is kind of odd because I thought the miniatures looked kind of cool, and the idea of swapping the board I thought was pretty innovative, but for whatever reason, it didn't get the traction. Kickstarter's really, dog eat dog out there. There's a lot of competition, so maybe Burning Games can bring that back as well. All right, now before I wrap this up, I just want to give you one last nugget, one little thing to look out for. This is probably something you'll see me cover in my 2021 upcoming Kickstarter board game video. So next December, be on the lookout probably for more information on this because I don't think it's going to be 2020. But I actually know about another Limbo game that's coming out. Now, it's not Eternal War. It's a whole different theme. I can't tell you a whole bunch about it, but from the early stages, from what I've seen, it's going to be really unique, and it's definitely going to have miniatures, and some of them even look kind of cute. All right, that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. Because I don't really know a whole lot more anyway, so I'm not going to pretend like I know everything here. Anyway, that's going to be sometime in the future. They're still developing that, working on that, so that's going to just kind of be in the oven a bit longer to bake. Alright guys, well my voice is going out, I'm out of breath. I just mentioned I don't know how many games, there's a ton here. There's probably some I missed. If so, comment down below, both to enter that giveaway obviously or not, it's whatever, but let everybody else know what's coming, right? As a community, we can pull together and really kind of note everything. Now I focus on the miniature board games, but again, they're playing in card games and other games that might be coming out that you might want to have other people know, so comment below for that. Be sure to share this around if anybody be interested, or if they might have some more information that they can comment below about it, that would be great. As always, like I said, thanks so much for watching. I really do appreciate all you guys. I have the best community ever on Kickstarter. You guys rock and are awesome. All of our interactions are fantastic. I love talking with you guys down in the comments. It's one of the highlights of my day. So really happy to have you here. If you want to see this kind of coverage throughout the year, plus reviews and very detailed unboxings, I guess very detailed reviews too, plus some miniature painting thrown in there, definitely hit that subscribe button. That's pretty much all I do. So if you're into this kind of stuff, this is the channel for you. This could definitely be your home. Alright, but enough about that. The last thing I want to say is, again, if you're willing to support an independent, honest channel like this, there's a link to the Patreon below. I would honestly appreciate it. It helps me bring better content to you guys. The mic I'm recording on right now is there. The application that I use to edit and upload this video, I paid through there. They very much make what I do possible. So thank you to all my patrons, but thank you just for being here. You rock, and have a wonderful 2020.